Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, the 7th of July, 2024. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the markets, which are all at all-time highs, as we look for breadth to improve to increase the odds that the markets can follow through into July and August. To start the week, we have 14 bullish indicators, 5 neutral, and 1 bearish. Overall, tech is leading this week as we start off trading on Monday. Starting off the week, we have smaller indices leading, with the exception of the comp, which has 2,500 stocks. All of these indices are smaller groups of stocks, in particular focused on tech, software, IT, and cloud services. So it should be no surprise that last week we had a very nice rally to all-time highs. New York FANG, these 10 stocks, most of them rallying to new highs. MACD and Stochastics is rising. Looking for a follow-through this week. However, the last time we've made a move like this was the second week of June, and that lasted for 5 trading days. This breakout above this pivot has lasted for 4. While the number of days is not entirely significant, we do know that technology tends to rally into the month of July, so that's our tailwind for now. With the NASDAQ 100 at all-time highs, and the S&P's equivalent of 100 stocks, the OEX, and considering the narrow breadth that we've been experiencing over the last week or so, if this is to continue, we are watching these top 10 and top 20 stocks to trade going into the middle of July, knowing seasonality is the strongest in this month. In addition to the NASDAQ 100, the FANG index, and the OEX, we have TRBCX, which has some of the same components, trading at all-time highs, up 100% from our entry back in late 2022. With T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth Fund showing $63.93 billion under management. These are the top 10 holdings and stocks we'd be considering trading this week into the middle of July, as these companies have strong balance sheets, seasoned management, representing the strongest companies in their industry groups. So the takeaway this week is we need to see breadth improving, not only in these 3 indices, but also in the larger, broader indices like the New York Stock Exchange, and the overall market direction bullish to start off this week. With another index that represents many of those stocks, we have the XII ARCA Institutional Index, 75 stocks most commonly held in institutions' core portfolios. If institutions were concerned about the markets and were taking profits, we'd see red elder sticks, not blue and green. So while we are at all-time highs and a bit extended at the upper Bollinger Bands, the trend is certainly bullish heading into July seasonality. The 10-year yield had faded on Thursday and Friday back below the 50 and 200-day moving averages. This is bullish for equities. In addition to junk bonds moving up and to the right on this weekly time frame, 10-EMA is up and to the right all of 2024, rendering a bullish signal in the process, as these investors would not be buying junk bonds if they thought the markets were going to roll over and trail off like we saw in March into April, topped off by a U.S. dollar that is starting to fade again. We still have lower highs for now, below the 10-EMA weekly. We want to see this move lower this week if you're bullish equities. At the same time, if you're watching the dollar, if the dollar is moving lower, usually gold will move higher in addition to silver and copper, with all 3 moving higher last week, with the latter making a nice reversal back above the 10-EMA to start the second week of July trading. Known as an economic barometer, we're looking for copper to continue showing us that the economy is improving, while construction-related names did pull back in the previous few weeks. Look for a reversal and a move higher in copper. Finally, there is Brent crude, West Texas crude, oil and gas stocks in general, still in a sideways range for the most part, starting to move into the upper half. Volume has been increasing. So this is a neutral to slightly bearish signal that we want to keep an eye on as we move through the rest of July into August. As we start the week, we're looking for sectors to continue improving and for tech to create a tailwind for stocks this week. In addition, we're looking for semiconductors to continue this move higher, technology strong, communications strong, consumer discretionary outperforming consumer staples. We want to see that follow through as well. XLY XLP ratio has turned bullish. Whenever this turns bullish, as we can see, crossing over to the upside, that's telling you you have a tailwind with consumer discretionary leading. That's telling you institutions are not concerned about market conditions at the moment. They're not fearful that the markets will roll over. When they do, they start buying consumer staples, utilities, and healthcare stocks. That is not the case at present. So look for this to follow through into the month of July. With an interesting move in software stocks last week, we're looking for many of these components to move higher. With the Dow Jones Software Index breaking out and moving higher, you can see the relative strength to the S&P 500 breaking out of a descending channel. Look for stocks like Microsoft to follow through in their recent breakouts and for volume to emphasize institutions continue to buy. As we start the second week of trading in the month of July, RSI rising for Microsoft. MACD shows momentum is clearly bullish and stochastics embedded. Look for closes in the upper half of the daily range and for volume to stay bullish through July. The IBD 50 stocks are well represented. Also ran a scan for stocks that have oversold stochastics and moving higher. Many of these look really nice. Looking for a follow through this week. That said, I'm most likely going to stay focused on the New York FANG index stocks in the second line, all of which closed green on the week with Tesla gaining 27%. I'd like to see a flag on Tesla. As we discussed last week, Tesla running into some supply up here at the highs, looking for a little flag or consolidation. If it breaks above this level on Monday or Tuesday, that'll indicate that institutions are falling all over themselves buying. As we can see, volume well above average for the entire week, indicating shorts along with institutions buying have pushed Tesla to new highs to start the month of July. Apple also broke out to new all-time highs with RSI showing muscle. That's telling you the strength of the trend is persistent and most likely will follow through while making higher highs and higher lows. It won't make a new high every single day. There's going to be periods probably where we see a little pullback. Apple is very strong and institutions have been buyers. We also talked about Amazon. Looking for consolidation or trending periods. In this case, we broke out a consolidation, so we're looking for the next trending leg up like we had over here in January, which will lead us eventually to the next consolidation. Google looking for trend to continue after this brief consolidation in an ascending triangle pattern with RSI, MACD, and stochastics pointing higher. We're also watching Meta breaking out to new highs. Bollinger Bands opening up, top and bottom, volume increasing, telling you that this most likely will continue. Not every single day will be an up day, but we will be looking for higher highs and higher lows. RSI is rising, showing strength of trend. Netflix, as part of the communications group, which outperformed last week. Google, also part of that group. Looking for a follow-through. We are trending, having broken out of this consolidation that we saw in April and May. The 9/21 day up and to the right, 50 days turned up as well. RSI is above 50, showing strength of trend. And oscillators, MACD and stochastics look supportive. NVIDIA continuing to make this base, looking for a breakout or a push lower for an opportunity to enter at a lower price, looking good. And Snowflake looking for a break above the 50-day moving average this week and this volume by price band resistance zone just overhead, maybe hit the 200-day in the short term. The IBD 50 also following through, looking strong. All the stocks that were previously mentioned in the opening monologue. In particular, I'm looking at some of the stocks in the IBD 50 that have the asterisk next to them in this opening monologue screen. ARM Holdings and Centos. Centos is a economically sensitive stock. We want to see that moving up and to the right. That company has over 1 million customers worldwide. When it's moving higher, that's telling you their economic conditions are improving. They lease and rent out and sell corporate identity programs, uniforms, etc., to those 1 million customers. So it's a good way to understand what's going on in the markets. Whenever this is moving higher, up and to the right, you know that the economy is improving. While ARM Holdings, part of the semiconductor group, we want to see semis leading and tech continue. However, we'd like to see more stocks participating from other groups, like the banks, which are reporting on Friday, JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo. They're starting to show a little bit of profit taking going into those numbers on Friday. Goldman Sachs with a little bit of profit taking on Friday, and Wells Fargo with Citigroup showing the same thing. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for Sunday, July the 7th, 2024. I'll send out a watch list tonight with all the stocks I think might follow through with best conditions around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.